Yo YouTube, GK's back with another video. I told you I was hitting this hard. I told you. We're going to be talking about E3 2021 in this video. And the word around town and videos I've watched and articles I've read, it seems like the consensus is pretty much the same. That it wasn't exactly what we were expecting, our super high hopes being met, but it wasn't a letdown either. In fact, if I was to grade it on a scale of 100, I do think this is about a 75. Actually better than just okay. I want to start off with the industry talk first because it's my hope that it's going to kind of set the tone and get you to understand why I'm kind of feeling like E3 2021, like, alright, cool, yeah, I mean, it was good, I guess, yeah, cool, because the industry right now is trash. We can't get next-gen consoles. And I'm not talking about a Switch. Nintendo Switch is no longer a next-gen console. It's been out for quite some time, so it's hard for me to incorporate that into this next-gen conversation, so it's mainly Xbox and PlayStation I'm talking about. That's not a diss to the Nintendo Switch or their fans. They have some really dope games and some on my list I'm going to be talking about. Those consoles still do not exist. You can't find them. All the stores are sold out, and if you do want to buy one, you still have to pay double the price. As you can see, this hasn't changed, and I still don't see that changing. I haven't heard much about that. Maybe us regular people will be able to get one this holiday season, but I'm not too sure about that. So yeah, that has slanted my perception of E3 2021 as it should. That's a big deal. How do you get hyped about something that you know you can't play? But that doesn't mean I'm going to be unfair when trying to talk about how hyped I am for games and excitement and the games looking good or bad. I'm still going to try to bring the content, so that's why I wanted to make this video. The other side of this is Sony kind of skipped the event, and I'm not sure how to feel about that right now. I'm still 50-50 on it. The one half of me says that's trash, Sony, show up. The other half is like, super dope, Sony. You're saying screw it, you don't need E3, you've built this thing yourself, and you can carry it without E3. What I'm gonna say is, and recommend, if you really wanna see the new games I am super hyped about, is this video right here, my top 21 games ranked. I also did clip this out for just the top 10, but I do feel like if Sony is going to skip E3, but give us an event like that PlayStation Direct, we get that instead, well then I'm all for it, but only time is going to tell. Now that's not to say E3 didn't have some really good big reveals that I'm super hyped about and we're gonna get into in a second here. And now briefly about Xbox. It's hard to talk about it because I don't condone the method to which Xbox sells itself to its fans. I don't feel that Xbox took this opportunity of E3 2021 to stick it to Sony for not showing up. Xbox made it so that it kind of forces Sony to do both, their PlayStation Direct and E3. I don't think this event did that, so I can see how Sony would still say, nah, we don't really have to show up, we don't have competition. And in all honesty, they don't. You know, we can kind of make it up and act fake about it and say this or that. And I know the conversation, competition makes it healthy, it makes people grow. I get all of that. But if your competition is so bad and Xbox doesn't have a great effort and puts a good foot forward and kind of shows the fans that they have the games to even try to compete, then I can see why Sony would do that. So I want more from Xbox, so it makes Sony make some quality of life changes to how they do things and how their console works. But let me know, did Xbox show enough to make Sony consider showing up again to E3? That's the industry talk right now. Now let's get into some games and check out that video because there are a ton of games I'm super excited about that I won't be talking about in this video that might have gotten trailers or gameplay reveals, but we already kind of knew about them. I'm trying to stick away from those titles in this video, so it's really going to be like new titles I was unaware of. There are some exceptions to that. You'll see. I hope you enjoy the video.
Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show.
In no particular order, we have Stalker II. I saw the trailer for this and immediately I got Metro vibes. If you don't know the Metro trilogy, it is fantastic, and I just got that feel, and I am in desperate need for that feel again. I loved Metro, and Stalker 2 looks exactly like that. I don't know anything about Stalker, I didn't play Stalker 1, but from what I hear, it has been a very long time since Stalker, and it was super well received back then, so I have high hopes for this. This was something new to me, and that's why it's on this list. Replaced. This is an indie title, and I will say that E3 2021 had a crap ton of indie titles. Way more than that PlayStation event a few months ago. This was almost the E3 of indies, in all honesty. Replaced, to me, seemed like the most innovative, creative indie that I saw and have seen in recent memory. I'm really excited about this. The art direction looks cool, and the combat looks really dope. Now, Tales of Arise. I'm not a big Tales fan. I'm actually not even quite sure why I'm putting it on this list. I think because I want to give Tales another chance. I have played Vesperia, whatever it was, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't exactly wowing me. This kind of wowed me in how it looked, but I know the combat of Tales, and it hasn't left the PlayStation 2 era. This could bring Tales into the modern era, so I am kind of excited about it. Plus, I'm a huge anime fan and in that style, so I guess that's why it's kind of on here. Battlefield 2042. I haven't been a big Battlefield fan, but maybe this is the Battlefield that gets me into Battlefield. This is only PvP. From what I hear, there is no solo story campaign. It's a very interesting choice. I mean, a bad one. It's very Yiddish. Considering we saw how well that went for Call of Duty a few years ago when they cut their story. But I guess if you're going to go all in on 142 people on a map and PvP combat, maybe it will be good. I'm hoping for Battlefield fans it is, and maybe this is a new shooter I can add into my repertoire because the only kind of PvP multiplayer shooter game I play is Apex Legends. A Plague Tale Requiem. I've always wanted to play a Plague Tale, and this just inspired me to go play it. Just like when I saw Senua's Hellblade 2 got announced, I went back and played Hellblade, even though I was always interested in it. This falls in line with that, and just like with Hellblade, I wouldn't necessarily call it an indie anymore, and I think that category isn't tapped enough in gaming. I really wish and would think that more games come out of the AA variety in gaming, and a Plague Tale Requiem could fit that bill and be just what we need. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. This is a shocker. This was a bombshell. I would say I am excited for this. I didn't play Breath of the Wild 1, and I do believe that there is a rumor of a new Nintendo Switch kind of coming out, an upgraded version or a different version. You know how they do it. Always will just kind of upgrade it and re-release, really much like a Microsoft does as well. And maybe if I could find a Switch that is decently priced, because the console's not new at all, I will be able to enjoy Zelda, maybe play a little Mario Galaxy, Super Mario Maker, and then get to enjoy Breath of the Wild 2 when it comes out. But I'm not going to be a hater. It does look very good. Like I said, I'm not trying to show bias. I'm trying to be honest. Starfield got revealed, and this is hype. You know, I do like Bethesda sometimes. I think they build good worlds, but I think everything else, like gameplay and that kind of shit, sucks, honestly. Starfield looks like this will break the mold, put Bethesda back in the good graces of everybody after Fallout 76, but the Starfield teaser part was disappointing. It was nothing. It didn't show us anything. It didn't tell us anything. It's a space RPG, and that's it. That's all we know. I said this in that video that I showed at the beginning, that it seems like the next generation is going to be focusing on space. And I feel like that's a very underutilized and untapped fountain in gaming because of space. It's gigantic, it's hard to make it look good, and what we think we can do isn't necessarily close to reality or is close to reality. Misconceptions about space and how it should look and how things should function, and always going a little bit cartoony with it. This looks hyper realistic, and that's what has me so excited for Starfield. Sable, another indie title that looks really interesting. I really picked this game for the art direction and to kind of re-emphasize the idea that this was really the E3 of indies, even though not many are actually on my list. There were not, however, that many new reveals of the AAA priority. There were, though, so many new reveals of indie games, and it's nice to see, and maybe Sony plays a part in this. When Sony doesn't show up, it gives spotlight and shine to many other developers and teams and these indie games that may have gotten a little bit overlooked if Sony comes in and swings its big rock around. You know I'm a Final Fantasy fan. It was a Final Fantasy channel once upon a time ago. I'm super surprised though I didn't see Final Fantasy 16. I really thought we would have gotten news by now. They said we were going to get it early this year, but we're already halfway through this year and we still haven't really heard much. Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. And I do want to say it is a little confusing. Is this an origin to Final Fantasy 1 and 2? Because that's kind of like a combo deal that's still very confusing. Or is this a retelling of Final Fantasy 1 and 2? I think it's probably more of an origin. It might actually be a legit prequel. The combat looks very interesting and Team Ninja is doing it. I really do like Neo. I liked Neo 1 more than Neo 2, but Team Ninja is going to take care of that combat. I know the story's going to be there. It's just a question if the fans or people who play it are going to like the characters. And I will admit that the trailer is a little bit clunky or a little bit weird, but I do think that is that Final Fantasy flair. There's a reason for those things, and it seems to be mature. That's the other thing here, Team Ninja, Neo, mature games. This is, in my opinion, going to be a mature Final Fantasy. And I love this trend in Final Fantasy going mature. We have Stranger of Paradise, which might be an M rating, and Final Fantasy 16, which is an M rating. I love this. I love what they're doing with it, and again, reinventing themselves, telling a new story in a new way. I love the risk taking, and that's the biggest highlight here. And I mean, number one on everyone's list is probably Elden Ring. It exists. Did you hear me in the back? Elden Ring exists, and it's great. I saw the trailer multiple times already, trying to get some lore down. I love it, I love it, I love it. My one fear with this though, for fans, because I am someone who expects and wants Elden Ring to be totally different from Dark Souls, to be something new, fresh, and innovative. Are you gonna feel like you're playing a Dark Souls game? And what I mean by that is Dark Souls is corridors, but when you're in an open space, there's no corner, because I can see it all there. So that's gonna change up the feel of what it means to be a From Software game. I personally am really excited for that change of pace, that new feeling, but I am worried for those fans who are expecting this to be like Dark Souls 3 or something, but open world. Well, it doesn't work. I understand they have open areas and all of that, but it's a corridor game. The excitement and the fear, all of that comes from walking down a corridor, killing the enemies, and turning left and not knowing what's there. But when an open map occurs, I'm not sure how that's going to play out. But I am very confident that this is going to be that different thing. This isn't going to be Sekiro. And speaking of Sekiro, the game that should have won Game of the Year that year, Death Stranding, is getting a director's cut. This is the final game I'm talking about here because I love Death Stranding. It was so good, should have won Game of the Year, and I'm super excited for a director's cut on the PlayStation 5. I believe that you can make the case that this was the best looking PS4 game they've released, also with the best controller vibrations, and to see this on the PlayStation 5 with that haptic feedback and that 3D audio has me crazily excited. But I know technically this isn't a new game, that's why I threw it at the end. But I did hear that Kojima did tease a new title, which again is super hype. But in the meantime, hopefully I can get my hands on a PlayStation 5 and enjoy the Death Stranding director's cut. And that's my E3 2020 wrap up. Like I said, if you want to see my real takes across the board, check out this video, Top 21 Games, because all of those titles there are super hyped. That list has to change now, considering some of the titles we saw from E3 2021, but not by much in all honesty. E3 2021 was a success. However, I can't help but feel something was missing, and that might be the actual consoles to play the games on. I'm the grown kid.